the Blessed Virgin Mary gave to St. Dominic Guzman the heart of the Rosary Prayer, she said that it would be as a great weapon against future errors and future difficulties in the Church. That tells you and me that the Rosary is absolutely relevant to us now. Hello and welcome to MCast. This is Dr. Mark Miravalle, Professor of Theology and Mariology at the Franciscan University of Steubenville. We're talking about the beauties of the Rosary. In our last segment, we talked about the history of the Rosary, given in some form from our Blessed Mother to St. Dominic as he was battling the Albigensian heresy, a heresy of dualism. So, in a heresy which rejects matter as being evil, how powerful it is that the Blessed Virgin Mary gives to St. Dominic a form of prayer and preaching where we emphasize the fact, first and foremost, that the second person of the Trinity became man. In fact, the incarnation can't happen if matter is evil. A good God can't become evil matter, as was falsely believed by the Albigensians. This idea that, the God of heaven is the spiritual God, the other God is the material God, and he's evil. No, God the Son becomes man, and that sanctifies all of matter, if you will. And so Dominic focuses on preaching on three general categories. First of all, the incarnation. That's what we now know to be the joyful mysteries. Secondly, the redemption of Jesus, the sorrowful mysteries. And thirdly, the eternal life, the victory, which we now refer to as the glorious mysteries. So what seems to be what was precisely given is a form of preaching, and then Dominic would have the people pray 10 Hail Marys to meditate. So we are talking about some period of development from exactly what our Blessed Mother gave to St. Dominic to what we pray today, but not in its essence, not in its heart. The heart of the Rosary is a celestial gift from the Blessed Mother to each one of us, if we indeed take advantage of this gift. Now, from the 13th century to the approval of the Rosary, which actually happens in the 16th century, we also have some development. For example, we have in the 14th and 15th century what was called Our Lady's Psalter. This was the practice of the laity, praying 150 Hail Marys. We have to remember that the laity can't read, and so they wanted to pray the Divine Office and the 150 Psalms, but their inability to read and the great expense of having books then made it impossible. So Our Lady's Psalter was the layman's Psalter. It was the layman's way of praying the 150 Psalms, but without being the Psalms and without being read, they were rather symbolized, represented by praying of the Hail Mary. So we have the praying of the 150 Hail Marys. We have the beginning with the Our Father and the ending with the Glory Be. Now, why would a Glory Be end the decade of the Rosary? Well, it's beautiful in itself, right? It praises the Trinity, but there's a historical reason. If the laity are trying to, in a sense, imitate the clergy in praying the 150 Psalms, well, how in the Divine Office do we end each Psalm? Well, we end it with the Gloria Patri, with the Glory Be. So the Glory Be naturally comes at the end of the decade of the Rosary, which again, each Hail Mary symbolizes one of the 150 Psalms of David. Another development takes place when we add the prayer of the Hail Holy Queen. Some have attributed the Hail Holy Queen to St. Bernard of Clairvaux, others to other earlier sources. It matters not for us. It's a profound and beautiful prayer, and it's right that at the end of the Rosary we would acknowledge the Queen of heaven and earth. Well, by the 16th century, all of this is united in a prayer form where people are praying 15 decades of the Rosary. They are meditating on certain mysteries, joyful, sorrowful, and glorious, and they are really benefiting from the great fruits of this. So it's brought to the Church. And Pope St. Pius V, at the end, well, actually it's around 1569, makes a declaration of approval, actually a constitution, which approves the Rosary prayer as a valid prayer in the Church. It's a prayer that he gives very powerful indulgences to the recitation and praying of the Rosary. And it's important for us to look at what exactly does Pope St. Pius V approve. So what does he approve as the heart of the Rosary? Well, he says, first of all, to pray the Rosary, you have to do the following. You have to pray the Our Fathers and the Hail Marys. Number 2, you have to be meditating while you're praying those. And that's very important because we can tend to just vocal prayer with the Rosary, and that's, my friends, where we have the temptation to say, it's boring, it doesn't do much for me. That's because we're not tapping into the meditation, and the meditation part is so very important. So, with the indulgence of Pope St. Pius V for praying the Rosary, again, it's the praying of the Our Fathers and Hail Marys while meditating on the mysteries of the Rosary. And in that document, he kind of confirms what we now know to be the joyful, the sorrowful, and the glorious mysteries of the Rosary, only to be rounded off and filled up, we could say, by Pope John Paul II's inspired edition of the Luminous Mysteries. So, when we're talking about the nature of the Rosary, we want to remember 3 essential things about the Rosary. Number 1, it's a scriptural prayer. Number 2, it's a Christocentric prayer. That means it's a Christ-centered prayer. Number 3, this combination of vocal prayer and meditation. Let's go back to those 3 real briefly. First of all, the Rosary is a scriptural prayer, as Paul VI said, and John Paul II repeats his profound words in his document on the Rosary. It's a summary of the New Testament. In fact, my friends, I would dare you to try to come up with 20 points from the life of Jesus that better summarize the gospel than the 20 mysteries of the Rosary. You won't be able to. Why? Because this is heaven's summary of the life of Jesus. We can't come and compete with the summaries of heaven about the life of Jesus. And that's why we're supposed to meditate on these mysteries through, as John Paul II says, through his mother's heart. Why through his mother's heart? Because, my friends, believe it or not, she was there. She experienced these things. She's there, obviously, in the joyful mysteries, and she experiences the sorrowful mysteries. In fact, it's a strong tradition of the Church that we learn the way of the cross from Mary, because she was there. She's the one who brought the disciples and the apostles back to the places where Jesus was scourged, to the agony of the garden, to the crowning of thorns, obviously going up the way to Golgotha, the place of the crucifixion. Her heart was there. And that's why when we pray these mysteries and ask Our Lady's intercession, she can give us insights into these mysteries we cannot get on our own because she was there. So when we're talking about the structure of the Rosary, remember, it's a scriptural prayer. And even the Hail Mary itself is the combination of 2 scriptural greetings of Elizabeth and of the Archangel Gabriel. First with Gabriel, "Hail, full of grace, the Lord is with you." And then secondly, Elizabeth, "Blessed are you among women, and blessed is the fruit of your womb." Now the only addition is the word Jesus, and certainly we can't object to that addition. So how beautiful, and as St. Louis Marie de Montfort says, look, if you want a favor from our Blessed Mother, if you need something in the spiritual and material dimension, what better way than using the words that the Archangel Gabriel used to get the most important invitation answered, and that is that this virgin would say yes to becoming the mother of Christ for all humanity. So if you want words that fancy the heart of this mother, you can't do better, St. Louis Marie tells us, than to use the words that the Archangel Gabriel himself used. And that's why there's power to scriptural praying of the Hail Mary. We're going to continue about the nature of the Rosary, its purpose, and also its fruits. Stay with us as we go through the nature of the Rosary and why you and I should be praying the Rosary today for our salvation, sanctification, and for peace in the world. Thank you, and God bless.